My brother Linwood joined about maybe 3-4 years before I did, and he was active then, and it just seemed like I just kind of followed what he did.
Well, I got going with my dad to a couple fires, and I liked it. I liked the truck. Well, for the old ones we had.
Being around the fire company, growing up around the fair, we were around the fair all through August when the fair ran. So we hung around the firehouse and hung around with Dad. So I guess we just took an interest in that part of it.
Yeah, same for me. You know, coming from two brothers and a father involved in a fire company, you know, getting up in the middle of the night and all going out to fires.
Two of the current officers, Ray and Roger Cobb, were scout leaders in my son's scouting group. And when our sons hit high school, they left scouting, and so I wasn't doing as much around the schools. And so Ray and Roger said, why don't you come up to the firehouse, check it out? And I said, yeah, I can come up, see what's going on. I can probably learn to wash floors and trucks, do some paperwork. So I did one night, come up on a work night and check it out.
The things that attracted me here is it was not a social club. You know, everybody that was a member here worked. So I really think that was probably one of the reasons why I was very interested in, I was not interested in being a part of a social club.
I joined in 1972, and our barn had burnt in December of 71, and it was just the turnout that was there, you know, the community help that we had was just overwhelming.
Back then, whenever the fire whistles went, we had it was a fire, you know. All the calls we had back then were fires. We didn't hardly have any rescue calls. We didn't know much about gear them days. You could walk, you were trained.
Every time the phone rang for the fire company, it rang in our house.
Graham's garage up there at near the firehouse. Why, the call come in at the garage. He'd go out front and pull the switch to blow the siren. And that was the last communication we had till we got back.
Everybody kind of got excited, depending on the severity of the fire or what was told to us. And then you'd ring the buzzer and then wait for people to come up. And I think a lot of times they came to the house and we told them where to go.
If you were the first up here, you'd stop there and find out where it was, or else somebody would be up here and tell you where it was, but that's how we got first dispatched.
Well, I did get to hit the button quite a few times, but I remember my father or mother always standing beside me. So I imagine I was somewhere between 10 and 13 or 10 and 15, the age of 10 and 15. But it did give you, as they would say now, an adrenaline rush. And I don't know, I don't say I like to hear the whistle, but it is a very familiar sound.
When I started, they had a little pickup truck with a tank on it for a brush truck. And they had an older Mac, and then soon after I joined, they got another Mac, which was a high pressure, just a high pressure. It didn't have a volume pump on it. It had like a 900-pound high pressure pump on it, and we had those two trucks.
We had 4 main trucks. There was a real old Mac, and a little bit newer Mac. And there was a Mac tractor. We had a tractor trailer tanker. And then there was a brush truck which started most of the time.
The old, is it an 84, 85? The Carmar, or early KME.
That was our original rescue.
And that had the high pressure on it. And that had the 10-speed, and then it was the Mac, 62 on the Mac. That was I don't know. Between that and the tractor trailer tanker, I'm not sure which was my favorite between the two of them.
They had just put the rescue in service in '97, and I started in '98, so that was still pretty new. We had the old brush truck that we just got rid of a couple years ago. Was it a 71 Power Wagon?
Yeah.
73, 71, right around there. And we had the old two-tone blue Chevy Suburban, which was the squad at the time.
Route 123, we had so many up there that I can remember one night there was 5 sailors come down there with an accident, and they all burnt. We had the fire scenes, I think, when we went over to there to Saratoga Road where that Geis fellow lived. He's still in prison still for it, where he murdered his wife and cut his wife was pregnant, cut the baby out, and that's still, I can still remember scenes like that. But
Talked about this the other night when the horse was trapped in a swimming pool up in South Coventry. It was over a winter month, maybe early spring, and the cover was still on, and the horse got tangled up in the cover. It was an in-ground pool where we took quite a few of us to get a strap around it and work it out and to get the horse out. So we did go some different calls.
The most memorable call, it's memorable in that it was very interesting. We got a page for a special detail, everybody report to the firehouse. It's like, okay, well, this should be interesting. And what we ended up doing is chasing 4 heifers who had gotten loose. I had never in my life imagined that volunteer fire companies would end up doing something like chasing heifers through the field. They presented a danger to automobile traffic on the back roads because it was icy and snowy, so they did need to be rounded up. So it was a very, very interesting call. I'm not sure it was the most dramatic call, but it was certainly interesting.
One of the ones that always sticks out in my mind was 23 in Coventryville Road. When I was in high school, I was actually on my way to school, and we weren't at school yet, so we were going to any call we could, and I got here and was on the rescue truck, and it ended up being one of my classmates in the auto shop that was killed in the accident, and that just always sticks out in my mind.
The first thing I thought of was the first working house fire that I drove a truck to. We had 30-some inches of snow, and I had the rescue truck and was pushing snow with the front bumper. We went down here to Sheeter Road. So, but they seem to be the ones I try and remember. You know, I mean, not that, you know, a house fire, you know, someone lost their home, but it was more the experience of what I did, and, you know, that's like the story of, I walked both hills uphill both ways to school in the snow. You know, it's that I'll always get to tell.
Accidents, those you do try and block out. I'd say we had that one on Saratoga Road where those high school kids were killed. For me, was probably the worst. You know, I think that's the hardest thing of the whole thing that we do. For me, is you know, your fatal accidents. I mean, no matter what you do, you know, you just couldn't help them, and that's the worst.
Fire prevention comes out of the Chicago fire of 1871. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew how to get out of a house. Nobody knew where to go. Nobody knew what to do. And the idea from that catastrophe grew out of that we really need to try to educate. And since the fire department is the one fighting the fire, it was felt it was probably best for them to do it, which is why it's part of our mission statement now.
To the local schools, and also there was always a week, the fire prevention week or whatever. We always had equipment up at the mall, Coventry Mall.
So from that, we started reaching out to the kids, telling them about meeting places, how to get out of a house, how to protect themselves. If we have older kids, we get more into what causes fires, how to prevent fires, because we can't really get into that in some of the younger kids. We can only touch certain types of things. So we try to stay with the basics, get out, stay out, stop, drop, and roll, meeting places. With the older people, it can be a lot of fun because we can actually cover what causes fires, how to prevent them and stuff.
The fair that went through 50s, 60s into, I guess it stopped in the early 70s, was a very big thing in August. It was ran every Saturday night in August. So we had a lot of community support. The fundraisers, chicken barbecue, turkey raffles. I remember a carnival we had here, or a circus at Animals.
So I remember we had a musician or a fellow play a guitar and drove a car in there and he had no arms.
I remember we'd have a big six-wheel and we'd have food stands and all kind of penny pinchers, penny wheels, and just like an ordinary fair. We even gave chance cars away back in the 50s and the 60s. And later on, we chanced like maybe a television or something like that. We always had pretty good prizes.
I'm proud to be part of an organization that's withstood the changing in the times in the 75 years that has been here. Has had the leadership to get us this far, and not just get us here, but get us here in a sound manner.
Glad to be here. I'm glad that I've helped recruit people, and I'm going to continue to do that.
There's just a lot of things around here that, it's part of you, is that's the only way to explain it, is that this place is part of you, and everywhere you go, you carry it with you.
Yep.
And
You never let it go.
you can only wear your shirts and your hats so much to display it, but everything we do, the firehouse is part of us.
Yep.
I don't really know what else to say.
It's definitely, it's something to be very proud of, and I mean, it's just, there's nothing like it. And once it's part of you, it's there. It ain't going away.
Yeah, it makes you feel good that you're helping the community, somebody in need, and it's not, I do it because I can help somebody else. It's not a personal big deal. With that, we'll go.